caused flash flooding across England, Scotland and Wales, leaving drivers trapped in their cars and in their homes underwater. Enda Brady reports.
For the people of Ilminster in Somerset, it was a pre-Christmas delivery they really could have done without. A torrential downpour that sent floodwater cascading into homes and resulted in hundreds of calls to the emergency services. Bridget Smith awoke to find her living room and kitchen underwater.
It just came straight through the front door, out the back door, through the garage. We're just a foot underwater, we just couldn't get out the house.
Across much of Somerset and Devon, the picture was the same. In places, the floodwater reached 18 inches. Road conditions were described as atrocious.
It would be really helpful if the people in the Ilminster area would not try and get around the floods, because they're only adding to the number of people we actually have to rescue. Roads are quite impassable, so my advice would be stay indoors.
Nationwide, there are a total of 42 flood warnings in place and a further 139 areas on alert. In Wiltshire, emergency services are at full stretch, dealing with numerous incidents. And rescue services had to help 20 people trapped in their cars in Devon and Somerset. In Wales, firefighters were called to deal with flooding in the Fishguard area. In Gloucestershire, a severe flood warning was in place on the River Lyd at Lydney, and racing at Cheltenham had to be abandoned. Here at Otterton in Devon, people trying to go to work were faced with the problem of just how to get out of the village.
All the water coming down through there was bringing so much debris onto the road, it's like driving up a river. It was just a horrendous amount of gravel and wood and all kinds of trash that's all been pulled down the road. And the water level was very high and my poor little car struggled getting up it really, but luckily I managed to get out of the village.
Determination too here in the Somerset village of Ilton. It seems whatever the weather, some deliveries just have to be made. Enda Brady, Sky News.
Let's go live now to Otterton in Devon and speak to Sky's Katie Stallard. Well, the day's almost over. Katie, what's the latest there?
It started raining here, Andrew, about 9 o'clock last night. It stopped this morning, but by then the main entrance to the village had been cut off. The other entrance, the other exit from the village was almost impassable. The high winds here had knocked trees and branches down onto the road, and the rainwater had washed mud right across them. So people here really struggled to get out of this village this morning. Since then, the river has risen. You might be able to see it just behind me. It's the River Otter. It's risen about 8 to 10 feet and burst its banks here. What you can see behind me should be the car park at the Otterton Mill here. This is a working mill, it's a visitor centre, and it was flooded very badly 6 weeks ago in a freak storm. It was due to reopen today, but they got the call this morning at 3 a.m. from the Environment Agency to say the waters were rising again. We can speak to the owner here, Simon Spiller. Simon, not the best of reopenings. Talk us through 3 a.m. this morning. The Environment Agency called you.
I was woken at 3 and that was a flood watch, and then got a flood warning at 5:30, and effectively that means that you're going to get flooded. So my wife and I came down and we started to put in place a plan to secure the site and put sandbags in place, and staff started to arrive at about 8 o'clock, and they worked with us around the clock to get us covered so that if we did flood, and obviously the car park did flood, but if the buildings were threatened, we would have been okay with those protections, and so far we've been okay. There
were people coming from the village to help, people filling sandbags. Talk us through that.
Yeah, we've been overwhelmed by support. When we were flooded 6 weeks ago, it was the same. The community sort of rallied around us, offering help. We've had people coming in throughout the day saying if they can help us move stock or equipment to safe ground, then they'd love to do that. We haven't been able to take them up on the offer because the site's really not safe when it's flooded. But we're very, very thankful for that support, and it's one of the reasons that we're still in business after the last flood, and we're really encouraged by that support.
Take us through what's happening here behind us. There are feeds into this river from 40-50 miles upriver in Somerset, where we've seen those pictures up in Ilminster and Chard. That's what's feeding this river. That's
right. The Blackdown Hills is the main feed, and because it has been so wet over the last couple of months, the rainwater is simply running straight off into the river, and hence the flash flooding that we've seen now and 6 weeks ago. And this river is also tidal, so we're not quite out of the woods just yet. We're looking at some of the highest tides that we've seen in the last 15 years, and as a consequence the floodwaters could get pushed back up into the mill.
Simon, we'll leave it there. Full full moon tonight. These are the highest tides we've seen in some 15 years. High tide here is in around 2 hours, so we're not out of the woods yet. The tidal level of the river here is still rising, so still some cause for concern here in the village of Otterton.
Katie, thanks very much indeed.